Good evening, everyone. We're about 3 minutes from starting. If we could get everybody in, take their seats. We'd like to start on time. Thank you. All right, well, here we go. Good evening, everyone. Let's get everybody seated. All right, we're good to go? We got the cameras on? All right. Well, I want to let some people come in. They're still coming in. Okay, so first of all, we want to welcome everyone. We want to thank you for coming. We try to put some chairs out in front for those of you who are in the bleachers. Most of the time we're in settings where we have all regular seats, but we wanted to host it here tonight, and the bleachers is a workaround. We still have some more chairs. We don't want anybody to be uncomfortable. We certainly don't want you to leave early because of the bleachers. You look very comfortable. I think that's the way to sit in the bleachers, okay? But if anybody needs a chair, we'd like to have you. So my name is Rick Blangiardi. And I have the privilege of serving as the 15th mayor of the city and county of Honolulu. And behind me in a few moments, you'll meet the team of men and women that I could not be any more proud of. But we have some introductions tonight, and I want to be able to make those. But before that, we'd like to kick off everything that we do, each and one of these. This is our 6th town hall of the season. And thank you, yes. And, we did 11 of them last year. We're going to do 11 this year. We positioned it as a journey of learning, and honestly, it truly became that for us. And now this second time around, it's become even more so. So it's an opportunity for our entire team to not only meet you and listen, but at the same time for you to establish contact specifically with the man or the woman here who can give you the expertise per your question tonight and an ongoing contact. And we love that. I will tell you, for me, just so you know what our agenda is that everybody back or behind me is an expert in something. And that's terrific. But this is an opportunity, even if some of them never get asked a question tonight, for everybody that's on our team to kind of get a holistic view of each community, and then, of course, in the aggregate, the 11 districts that we get to. So it's a learning opportunity. I want them sensitive. We're going to say it in a few minutes. You can come up here tonight and ask us any question you want. I'll get into that in a little bit. But to kick it off tonight, I really want to ask Kilohana Silv to come up and do Apule. Kilohana. I'm sorry.
Mahalo, Mayor. Aloha kako. I would like to start with a welcome chant. Oh, now nai ta halamita le hua. Halele hua noia nata noe. Oh, ta noia e ano ineli ane. Ho io ta hiti mai. Iti mai no oko, iti tu no me te aloha, aloha e, aloha e, aloha e. I would like to follow that with a short healing chant of remembrance for the Oda family. This is a chant that was composed by Puakea Nogelmeyer, and it speaks of these beautiful flowers that are blooming in a tree, and this strong wind comes and blows them from their branches, and they fall to the ground, but their fragrance remains. He hali hali amau kapuai aloha ina pua o na pua helele kahili hava o kamakani kanini ho o hikilele kalala o kala'au la'ahi hamanoa ele kahiko o ke olae. And finally, one last chant to bring all of us together, a chant that calls upon all of our ancestors for guidance and wisdom and growth. Eulu, eulu, kinio ke akua, ulu kane me kanaloa, ulu lau koa meka ye. I am my nohuiko kuahu, ea kavaila, e vaeola, e ola noe. Mahalo.
Absolutely beautiful, Kilahano. Thank you. Okay, some quick introductions, but before I make the introductions of our council members that are here, I was told that we were supposed to have a number of state representatives and senators here tonight who had RSVP'd, but the governor called the session, so tonight they're all in session. But I see a couple of our city council members. Let me start off. I saw Radiant Cordero. Where are you, Radiant? Right there. Okay. And somebody whispered in my ear, it would be good to say you're a proud Mid-Pacific High School graduate. Yes, sir? Okay. And I see Matt Wire here. Councilman Matt Wire. You too? Did you go to Mid-Pacific? The two of you. Is this some kind of a homecoming thing? Huh? Good. Councilmember Calvin Say. And I think that Council Chair Tommy Waters is going to be here. When he comes in, I'll introduce him, as well as Councilmember Tyler DeSantis Tom. But I don't think have I missed anybody? Is anybody here that I didn't see? Okay, good. One of the things that we did when we first came into office was we wanted to make, a real serious move at supporting our youth with respect to leadership, and leadership especially in city government. So we stood up a youth commission. We're now into it for 2.5 years. For the last couple of years, I've actually been absolutely blown away by the quality of the young men and women that have come and served on this. And we have at least one here tonight, if I'm not mistaken, Kalena Shea. Where's Kalena? Okay, so come up here. So I'm going to give her a couple of minutes. It, to me, is a development opportunity for them to get here and be in front of a group like this at a town hall. Tell them a little bit about yourself and anything else. A couple of minutes, okay? Thank you, Kalena.
Thank you. So I'm Kalena Shea. I'm in 8th grade at Iolani. I look older than I am, but I'm 14. I was appointed by Councilmember Say in August to the Youth Commission, so I represent District 5. I first heard about the Youth Commission when it was on the 2020 voting ballot, and my mom told me about it, and I thought that it would be a good thing for me to go on to when I was finally old enough. And now I'm old enough to go on. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about me.
Thank you, Colette. I can tell you this, when I was 14, I couldn't do that. Thank you. Thank you. Is Diego Carranza here? I had him down as he was supposed to be here. Here he is, Diego Carranza.
Thank you. Aloha, everyone. My name is Diego Carranza. I am the Honolulu Youth Commissioner from District 2. I'm a Lelehua grad, so a long way from home, but right now I am working at the state legislature, and it's been such a great opportunity to be a part of the Honolulu Youth Commission. It's such a great environment to feel supported in government and be able to help my community. Really quick, I'm going to do a little temperature check. Can you raise your hand if you're under the age of 24? Okay, well, that's okay. I just want to encourage everybody for future things to bring the youth out and to really, in any way that you can, support them. There's never any action that's too small for your community. So thank you all for coming, and I'll give it back.
I think maybe the question should have been, how many of you wish you were under the young age of 24? My hand might have gone up. Yeah, I get it. That's so true. All right, so what we'd like to do now is have you meet the men and women behind me, and then we'll talk a little bit how we're going to operate tonight in tonight's town hall. So I see Andy Sugg with the microphone, so I guess you think I'm going to start with you.
Lead off.
Okay, go ahead.
Aloha, I'm Andy Sugg. I'm the Mayor's Chief of Staff, and it's great to be here. Thank you all for coming, and we're looking forward to a night of great dialogue with you all. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Laura Thielen, the Director of the City and County Department of Parks and Recreation, and thank you very much for inviting us into your community.
Aloha, Joe Logan, Police Chief of the Honolulu Police Department. I have the tremendous pleasure of serving alongside some fine young men and women who serve the Honolulu Police Department and serve all of you in your communities.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gene Albano. I am the Director and Chief Engineer of the Department of Facility Maintenance. Our department is responsible for the maintenance of all of the city-owned infrastructure that includes streets and sidewalks, the streams, the buildings, and the electrical system, and I look forward to a conversation tonight. Thank you very much.
Aloha mai kākou. I'm Ernie Lau, Board of Water Supply. Mahalo.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Sam Moku. I am the Mayor's Homeless Coordinator. Glad to be here. Aloha.
Aloha and good evening. My name is Joe Costilla. I'm Assistant Chief with the Honolulu Fire Department. Thanks for having us.
Aloha, my name is Roger Morton. I'm the Director of the Department of Transportation Services. We operate the public transit systems on the island, including the bus, the handy van, and rail, Skyline. We also have a heavy responsibility for our streets. We do the engineering of the streets, the traffic devices. We're the guys that warrant the speed humps, those types of things. I'm sure we'll get questions on that tonight. We also do bikeways, bike bridges, all of those things, and I'm happy to be here too.
Aloha everybody, I'm Donna Puna from the Department of Planning and Permitting, or DPP. Thank you for having us today.
Good evening everyone, I'm Mike Formby. I'm the Mayor's Managing Director. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Krishna Jairam. I'm the Deputy Managing Director. Thank you for being here tonight. Aloha, everyone. I'm Mike O'Keefe. I'm Deputy Director with the city's Department of Environmental Services. We manage most of the wastewater on Oahu, including 9 wastewater treatment plants, 72 pump stations, and 2,100 miles of sewer. And we also manage the solid waste, including the landfill and H-Power. So thank you for having us.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Kat Tashner. I am the Director for the Department of Land Management. We protect, develop, and manage the city's real property. Thank you for having us tonight.
Aloha and good evening. My name is Denise Iseri Matsubara. I am the Executive Director for the Office of Housing. Thank you so much for having us this evening.
Good evening. My name is Brian Gallagher. I'm the Deputy Director of the city's Department of Design and Construction. We do the heavy construction, repair, and maintenance for the city's facilities and infrastructure. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Ian Santi. I'm the Deputy Director of the Honolulu Emergency Services Department. We oversee the ambulances, the lifeguards, the city's health services for pre- and post-employment, and our core program. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening. My name is Dita Hollyfield. I'm the Director of Enterprise Services. I have the privilege of taking care of the #4 zoo in the nation, the Honolulu Zoo, the 6 municipal golf courses, and all of the venues here in the city. Mahalo for having us this evening.
Good evening. Aloha. Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services. Thank you for being here this evening. Look forward to listening to your concerns and issues.
Yeah, aloha. My name is Stephen Courtney, Deputy Director for the Department of Information Technology, also known as DIT. We're made up of about 160 IT professionals providing the compute, storage, and networking for all these city departments. We also provide applications to the public, such as Honolulu 311, where you as a citizen can provide your issues through your cell phone that can be reported to the city. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Kira Shushon. I'm the City and County of Honolulu's first Chief Data Officer, and I'm actually here to help streamline the data for our wonderful city and county. And I'm here and happy to see everyone here. Thank you.
Aloha, good evening. My name is Matt Gonzer, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Mayor's Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency, working with all the agencies to coordinate turning off the driver of climate change while also ensuring that we take the necessary steps to become more climate ready.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim Hashiro. I'm the Director for the Department of Customer Services. We provide services as driver's licenses, Satellite City Hall, and also in the area of public communications. I've also been a 22 plus year resident of Manoa, and it's really great to see everyone who came out tonight. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Kevin Auger. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Housing. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and thanks very much for having us.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Ka'ili Trask O'Connell, and I'm the Executive Director of MOCA, which is the Mayor's Office of Culture and the Arts. Mahalo for having us tonight.
Aloha, good evening. Kim Sparlin, Deputy Director of the Office of Economic Revitalization. We care about the economy because we know that the economy is not about numbers, it's about people. And we want to see an economy in the vision that you want, not that the state wants or that the feds want. So we're welcome, we're open, we always want to hear from you. I also want to say I have the privilege of being the mayor's representative to the Manoa Neighborhood Board. So it's nice to see some of you below the neck. Since I've met most of you online, it's nice to see you in person. So thank you for coming.
Aloha, my name is Hiro Toya. I'm the Director for the Department of Emergency Management. I have the privilege of working with all the departments to prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters.
Good evening. My name is Lori Kahikina. I'm the CEO and Executive Director of Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation. We are responsible for constructing the rail project. Thank you.
Aloha and good evening. Edward Los Banos. I'm the Deputy Director for the Department of Community Services. We administer city's programs around homelessness, workforce development, aging, and also the housing vouchers and small grant program for the city and county of Honolulu. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Erwin Kawata. I'm the Deputy Manager at the Board of Water Supply. Thank you for having us.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jordana Ferrer. I'm the Early Childhood Resource Coordinator, and my kuleana is to our littlest of littles, their ohana, and the professionals that support them. Mahalo.
Good evening. I'm Nola Miyazaki. I'm the Director of the Department of Human Resources. I'm also honored to be the Mayor's representative to the Waikiki Neighborhood Board. Our department is responsible for the management of over 10,000 city employees, and as you probably have heard, we're hiring. So I brought my top recruiter, Chun Miyaraki. If anyone wants to know why we're one of the best employers in the whole state of Hawaii, named by Forbes magazine, please stop by and see her after the town hall. And we're right next to HPD, and they're hiring too. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lloyd Yoninaka. I am the Executive Secretary for the Neighborhood Commission, and my office oversees all the neighborhood boards. I want to ask are there any neighborhood board members here tonight? Raise your hand. All right. I also want to point out we have 3 chairs here tonight. Winston, Ian, and Bob. Is Bob here? Finley? Okay. These are the chairs for their respective neighborhood boards, and they do an outstanding job. I also want to thank all of the board members for serving. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lloyd. We also have in attendance tonight our communications team. I know I see Ian Shuring. He was just here, the tall guy in the red shirt. Ian, where are you? There he is right there. Scott Humber, he's the Deputy Director of Communications. Scott Humber, our Director of Communications, right there. Brandy Higa, there's Brandy Higa's here, and Ryan Wilson's there. And both Brandy and Ryan are going to be runners tonight. with a microphone. Ordinarily, if we had different seating, we would have a microphone here, and I would ask all of you not to form a line, that we would get to you, and people would come up to the microphone. But given the fact that these bleachers can be a little bit treacherous, if you will, for going up and down, we'll bring the microphone to you. And actually, all you have to do is raise your hand. Do not worry about not being able to, Carlo, but don't worry about us getting to you. I promise you that we will. Look, these are just a couple of requests, okay? There's not really any ground rules to this. This is a very knowledgeable group of people, and a very committed group of people. And they're here to share whatever it is you might ask. If there's any question I can ask directly, I certainly want to be able to do that. As I said before tonight, it's an open microphone. We don't screen the questions. You can ask us anything you want. The caveat to that is you may not hear what you want, because we're here to really tell you the truth to the best of our ability. But in the event that we can't answer a question tonight, we will follow up with you. This is being recorded, and in fact, we're also on Olelo tonight, live TV, which is something we're doing this year. But I can promise you this, one of the things that's been a hallmark of our group is that we followed up with every question, and that's what we're trying to do. So we didn't come here tonight to make speeches. We came here tonight to answer questions. So the only other thing I'm going to say, since I'm kind of the MC of sorts, is that I don't want to be rude to anybody, but we don't want to hear a long speech. I want to challenge you to get to your question. Now, we understand that some of your concerns may take a bit to set up, if you will, so we can best understand what is on your mind. That's okay, but we really want to move the program along. The other thing I'll say, and I don't believe it needs to be said, if you're here tonight, it says a lot about who you are and how much you care about the community you live in. So we respect that passion. We respect whatever frustration you may or may not have. All we ask is that we keep tonight's discourse civil. We will be civil back to you. We just ask the same in return. Okay? So I think what we're going to do, because this is unprecedented, if somebody raises their hand, either Ryan or Brenda will come over, stay where you are, ask your question, and we'll take it from there, okay? We are going to go until 8:30, then we're done. Then none of us run out of here. We'll be here afterwards. But let's see how much we can get done in the next 95 or so minutes, okay? With that, I guess you had your hand up first, sir. Go ahead, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a great deal of respect for you.
Thank you.
You're not a politician. This will only take 1 minute. Honolulu City Council may be the only city council in America that allows residents to be awakened by trash pickup at 3 o'clock in the morning. The first ever Hawaii Dignity Day was held on April 14th. The purpose of that event was to awaken the dignity of council members who have both the authority and moral responsibility to protect all residents from that way too early morning trash pickup activity by private refuse haulers. Information about that event is on hawaiidignityday.org. To respect the dignity of another requires one to respect their own dignity. One of the steps you can take to awaken that dignity in City Council is to announce tonight that you are in support of residents who demand their dignity be respected equally, with trash pickup for everyone beginning no earlier than 6 a.m. Are you willing to take that step?
Well, you know, I knew you were going to ask me that question. And we're very concerned about, in fact, we're very concerned about noise in Waikiki. We had a lot of ambient noise, and we have HPD here tonight. We've worked hard on that, on trying to restrict that. That is that people have a First Amendment right to play music on sidewalks, but not with amplifiers, because we know the sound raises and stuff. Mike, is there anything you want to try on that one?
I'll just
we
say...
We talked about this there, but I'm going to answer too. Good.
Yeah, I'll just say that I've been working with Carlino for a while. We have much more to do together, and the council members have been giving me input every time they receive a letter from the community about the noises from the trash haulers and delivery trucks. They send them to me so that I compile them and you and I can get together and talk. I don't believe that the City Council has taken a position against what you're asking for. I think I've asked to be able to meet with you and work through what that process is going to look like. So, Carlino, I'll say again, I sent you an email the other day. Let's get together and talk. I appreciate that.
Okay. Excuse me? He's not a politician. No, Mike is, by the way, Mike Formby is managing director. For those of you who don't realize that, all of the people here behind me report directly to Michael. And the only people that I get to work with directly, per se, other than Michael and Krishna and our team, is the lawyers, the corporation counsel. So Mike is our quarterback. He's our head coach. That's why I turned to him on that. I don't want you to think I'm passing the buck. But that's a straight answer. Obviously we have to talk to companies. Part of the challenge in Waikiki is the way those buildings are constructed and what it takes to remove that trash and so on and so forth. But I promise you, in the spirit of what you said about respect and dignity, this is worth addressing to the best of our ability, and we'll see if, in fact, we can't bring some satisfaction about that. Okay? Because I get it. We all get it. I promise you that. Okay. Next question up here. Yes, sir. Okay, go ahead. You got the microphone.
2 questions about the Alawai Golf Course. A few years ago, before COVID, the engineering firm Kennedy Jenks made a presentation at the neighborhood board saying that they want to build a satellite wastewater treatment plant for liquids only between the 2nd hole and the 5th hole, corner of Date Street and Kapahulu, so that the golf course can use recycled water. What is the status of that? It is still in the primary urban center development plan. Second question, is Topgolf coming to the Alawai Golf Course mutually exclusive with the Alawai Watershed Army Corps project, building the berm around most of the golf course?
Let's go one question at a time. We'll give you a chance to ask the second one because both are big questions. Ernie.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. We worked with the Department of Environmental Services, Department of Enterprise Services, and Board of Water Supply, and we did a study because the Alawai Golf Course uses potable water to irrigate the golf course, drinking water, quality water from the Board of Water Supply. So the study was to look and see if we can harvest some of the wastewater that passes through a big line through the golf course, treat it, and then use it to help irrigate the golf course and save our precious drinking water for other uses. In our study, and Kennedy Jenks was the consultant, unfortunately what we found is the water passing through the golf course, the wastewater, is actually too salty to use. We'd have to time it so that at low tide we could take the water. At low tide it's actually fresher, but when the tide goes up, it gets saltier, so unusable. So the decision was not to actually pursue it at this time until the wastewater can actually be fresher. But we are looking for opportunities to use recycled wastewater. We do that on the EVA plane, and we use it also for industrial purposes. We want to extend our freshwater resources as far as we can go. Thank you.
Second question, or did that handle it?
Is Topgolf coming to the Alawai Golf Course?
Yeah, we actually were excited about Topgolf, and I don't know who's going to answer that, but
is that mutually exclusive with the Alawai Watershed project of the Army Corps of Engineers that would build a berm around the golf course?
No. I can answer that to the best of my ability. Maybe Dita, you can as well, but I know it kind of predates. A lot of what happened with Topgolf, when we first got into office in the midst of COVID, we had some very serious conversations with them. Their business plan and what they're going through, they just sort of withdrew. So it's an issue with them. I don't know, Dita, where you want to go with it, but I would tell you, I thought it might be a really great addition to the area. It was certainly worth pursuing to get community feedback, but they sort of backed out of that plan. Dita?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. That's exactly correct. And I just want to thank you for all the times that you reach out to me You have a big heart for the Alawai Golf Course. Thank you for being here this evening. They're all parties involved that were wanting to be vested interest in the partnership. All parties have decided there is no way to move forward. So that is not moving forward on any level. But we will continue to have an open door policy for any partnership ideas that come our way.
Great, thank you. Okay, who's up? Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Laura Ruby, Manoa, I should say Mo'ili. I'm part of the Alawai Mauka Community Association.
I meant to say at the beginning, if you could all introduce yourselves, that would be great. Just, okay?
And two quick things that I would like to enlist your help on. One was last year, I did ask about the bridge over the canal, and you asked for some design suggestions from me. Now, I did send you an email, but I never heard an answer back. And what I'm coming to ask you tonight is for a full EIS. That is a full explanation of the community, the human environment that is cultural, social, historical, all of the various things that go into making up a site, a very large site, including the endangered migratory birds and the mature trees and everything else. So that would be a request that we want to have, but I also would like to have it for every single project that goes on in the city and county. And the second thing is, if there is going to be a question on design build for a bridge, we would really like to have community involvement, a seat on the board, so we could help with the planning. I served for 10 years on the Landscape Advisory Committee at UH, and we worked to a management long-range plan, and we worked back and forth with the planners and with ourselves to make it a good plan. So we'd really like to have that also, if you could do that, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. I'm going to go to Roger in a second to have him update you on the bridge. This is not an excuse, nor am I going to throw the three women in my office under the bus. But I think your email came probably to one of the people that handles a tremendous amount of email that comes in, and I never got to see it, okay? So, and so they kind of make those decisions and it got routed. But I can tell you that clearly the subject of the bridge over the Alawai is a big conversation. With that, I'm going to turn to Roger Morton to bring you up to speed. And okay, you're shaking your head no. All right, go ahead, Roger.
Laura, we can have a more in-depth discussion after this, but I'll take both of your questions right now. As to the EIS question, where we're at right now is we have a draft EA. We're following the Federal Highways process as the lead funding agency. And so the process that means is that we're trying to finish up our NEPA ones. We have a few more things to do. And then after that, then the EA is submitted to the Federal Highways Administration, and they, not me, will make a determination of whether an EIS is required. And it may be. And if it is, so be it. We're not against doing it. We're simply following the prescribed environmental process with using federal funds as to how we do it. So we'll complete our study. It will be, the process is that the agency doesn't decide whether we're going to do an EIS or not. It is in the federal process. It is the Federal Highways Administration in this case as the sponsoring federal partner that to make that determination. And I don't know which way it will go. I'm sure that they will weigh community sentiment in making that decision. The second issue, I think, was what you had asked was the process of design build and whether or not you can be part of that process. So first, just for the people who knows, there's different ways that you can do a project. One way is you can do design, bid, build. And that's the way we started this project, as a design, a bid, and then build. We decided to go design build because it means that the process allows for alterations of the plan, and we're not stuck into a plan that is designed for us, because design, bid, build, you have basically one plan. So what we'll be doing with design build is we will be having a process. We will be inviting members of the community to come and to work with us on all parts of it. One part of the design build process that we're building in is something called alternative configuration, and that means that we will be open to look for different configurations of the bridge. I've certainly looked at the designs you've provided to me. Some I think would not work, some might work. We're open to different design concepts, including putting things that piers in the water. That was one of your large issues. So all I'm saying is we're putting those things on the table, and we're not doing it in a blind way. I want to assure everybody that we're doing this in a transparent way, and we're going to enlist the community. I can say one thing, that we've done a lot of public outreach on this project for many years, and every project that has real public outreach results in a better project.
Thank you, Roger. Just because you were shaking your head, is there anything else you want to say while we're here? Is there anything else that you want to? Yes, Laura, right? Yeah.
We'd like the whole community. We'd like the whole community really involved in anything that's going on in any of our community activities. Invite neighborhood board representatives or invite community people who are interested. Let them come in and let them be a part of the process, please. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, Ryan, you good? Thank you. It's Laura, right? Laura? I'm going to give you my personal email address, and you send me what you sent me last time, okay? All right, thank you. Right. Okay.
Aloha, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. My name is Claire Santos, registered nurse in the community, also a Red Cross volunteer nurse. Yes, I did deploy for Maui wildfires. But now I'm looking at hurricane season coming upon us, and I'm seeing more and more high-rise towers with kupuna being put in high-rises, and I would like to know where we're at with disaster planning for the kupuna in the high-rises when there's no power, no water. How do we get food, water, and services to these folks? What's the plan, and what agencies are involved?
Okay,
Thank you.
Great question, Claire. Thank you. Hiro, I'm going to turn to you. Hiro Toya. We actually, not just since Lahaina, but since being in office now for a little bit more than 3 years, it's amazing how much work goes into disaster preparedness. And honestly, having come out of a news background in media for a lot of years, you know, I'm still kind of a news junkie. Late at night I watch YouTube and whatever, and it's not lost on me the kind of disasters we're seeing elsewhere, not the least of which is what we saw here in Lahaina. So I would tell you our planning and our efforts are at the highest level. So with that, I'd like Hiro to talk to you about it, but we realize the dangerous world we live in. Sir.
Thank you, Mayor. And, okay. Hey, good to see you, Claire. Hi. So thank you for that question. And really, we look at disaster preparedness as a whole community responsibility. And of course, it takes all of us here, but all of you guys and all the community organizations that are out there serving different populations. So certainly there's outreach efforts through organizations like AARP for individual preparedness, right? But I think what you're looking for is kind of from a government perspective and what we're doing about it. So, so when we have to look at the whole community, we have 1 million people on this island, as well as 100,000 visitors on any given day. So it's a tremendous responsibility that we have day to day, 365 days a year, but especially when something big's happening, some kind of emergency. So what we like to do is to work through networks that we have, because my office is pretty small. We have 16 full-time employees. And what we do is leverage the networks that already exist out in the community as much as possible. So for instance, Department of Community Services, they have the Elderly Affairs Division, right? So what we would do is to work through the networks that they have and the leadership that they have to reach those populations. So just in terms of the power issue, That's certainly a responsibility for the individual, but also building owners to look at kind of mitigative measures. I think our role, we have a role in terms of potentially regulatory things, but also messaging to the public, messaging to building owners, and providing kind of the framework in which they can better mitigate against impacts. So to that end, one of the big efforts that we have over the coming year or so is to update our local hazard mitigation plan. So we have some of our colleagues from the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency in the audience there, as well as Matt Gonzer back here. So really looking at hurricanes as a hazard, the likelihood of them impacting us seems to be ever increasing. And meanwhile, we can take the actions to mitigate climate change, but there's, I don't want to be fatalistic, but like what we can do locally, in terms of the global impacts that we can directly have, right? Like we can't stop the climate change directly. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't, try to continue those efforts, but it's going to get to a point where it'll be really beyond our capabilities to respond to these large-scale disasters if we don't do proactive action to mitigate against the impacts, right? So I don't want to get into the hows of it, but things like the Alawai Flood Control Project is really important in terms of mitigating the impacts. Now, how that's done, that's up for discussion. But the thing we have to focus on is trying to systematically reduce the impacts and the vulnerabilities that we have. So that would include things like, updating building codes, right? And I see my council members up there. There's currently a bill going through City Council regarding updated building codes. There's also efforts and opportunities that we have to install backup generators in certain critical facilities and things like that. So, I think what I'm getting at is that we collectively need to work on mitigating the impacts while also at the same time bolstering our response capabilities, fire department, emergency medical service, just not only the first responders, but, all of us as a whole. And also it really takes voluntary organizations, Red Cross. And so again, it really takes the whole community, not trying to, buck the responsibility of what government has to do, but really has to be a holistic solution for the community. Yeah.
Thank you. Edward, is there anything you want to say? No. And by the way, Ryan, are we out of chairs? I see some other people came in, and if we can get some people to see if they want to. I guess we're out of chairs. Just move them down here. Unless you want to stand, it's okay. Edward.
So what I'll share is that kupuna concerns came to the forefront thanks to the Maui wildfires. And it became a big issue. So my office, the Elderly Affairs Division that Hiro referenced, we run the Age-Friendly Cities program. We participate in Kupuna Council and several other networks. I will share that during the pandemic, our aging network of feeding opportunities came in big in organizing some of the massive food distributions and feeding operations during the pandemic. So we do have a very active network. And just for everyone's peace of mind is that when there is an emergency, Hiro has a special seat for me over at the Emergency Operations Center, and he's not afraid to call us and rouse us in the middle of the night to get us down to that center to start working that network.
There you go. Michael, is there anything, Mike, you want to add to that on our joint task force that we have going on disaster preparedness? Anything?
Yeah, I thought actually Hiro would talk a little bit more about wildfire.
Yeah.
The work that we're doing on the preparedness.
Yeah, so, Claire, you'd asked about hurricanes, but of course, wildfires is really, front and center in all of our minds. So really shortly, I think, maybe like a week or two after the Maui fire happened, Mayor Blangiardi directed all of us to work collectively, break down the silos, really focusing on the cross-sector collaboration between all of us, because it's really easy for us to get focused on our day-to-day work, and we have so many things that we have to do. But this is a really important issue that really requires cross-sector collaboration between all of us here, not only within the city, but also with the state, university, and some of the non-profit organizations that are out there. So what we're doing is to systematically review the wildfire risks that we have in the community, in terms of some of the design of the communities, but also where, HFD actually went out and physically assessed the island and looking at each of their battalions, where some of the kind of high concentration of fallow lands and vegetation, overgrown grass and things like that, just identifying those opportunities and systematically working to reduce that from a day-to-day kind of land maintenance perspective, but also working with like DPP and the City Council to look at the regulatory side of things. Are we regulating the land enough to look at risk from that perspective? So there's kind of the short-term things we can do and then long-term action. And of course, anything that requires legislation, it would have to go through City Council. And it is a whole process, right? A transparent process involving the public with opportunities to engage. But in addition to the risk assessment and the kind of the risk mitigation activities, we're looking at the response capabilities that we have, and first and foremost, the alert and warning function that we have. That's one of the key functions that emergency management performs along with our partners, is alerting and warning the public when there is a critical incident happening, some kind of large-scale emergency. We have to let you guys know that there's an emergency if there's an evacuation required. So how do we most effectively do that? So really looking at reviewing our protocols for using our sirens, heard about that, our cell phone alert system, the emergency alert system that goes over TV and radio, ensuring that we have redundancies for those, and that, for me, eliminating single points of failure, ensuring that just because I'm not on island, that function still has to take place, right? It can't depend on a single person to perform that function. And so really looking at the system as a whole and how do we build redundancies and make sure that we can perform these critical tasks. But just all of this also requires money to do, right? So that's why Andy and his department are also critical partners in this, and also identifying federal grant funding opportunities. So again, this is something that the mayor directed us to do just immediately after the fire. Hey, are we doing everything we can, the things that we need to do to make sure that something like that never happens on Oahu? So, Chief, you want to add anything?
Sure. So regarding the wildfire risk planning and what the department has been doing since Lahaina, like Hiro said, we immediately set out and did an assessment of the island and where the high-risk areas are. So we compiled a list and prioritized which areas we'd want to take a look at and have the property owner, fulfill the responsibility of maintaining their land. A lot of the land that we assessed were overgrown brush and the setbacks weren't far enough. So our Prevention Bureau, they set out, did the assessment, and we shared it with the wildfire work group. So that's on the prevention side and the risk assessment side. On the response side, we did we will augment our staffing if wildfire season comes around. And we actually are sending more resources to wildland fires than we used to since Lahaina. So previously we used to send X amount of apparatus and personnel. Now, because of what happened in Lahaina, we are sending more people off the bat when the alarm comes in, so we can kind of get ahead of the call before it gets too out of control. It's kind of some of the things that we're doing in the department.
Sir, yes, go ahead. Give you the microphone. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Elton Fukumoto. I'm a member of the Mānoa Neighborhood Board, although I'm speaking in my personal capacity. So I have two comments, an overall comment and then a specific thing about Mānoa itself and its evacuation plan.
That's a nice way to break down. It's not a speech, but go ahead.
Okay. So one aspect of a comprehensive solution to wildfires, I believe, is that one possible conclusion is that the emergency management centers that we have are inadequate to tackle a large-scale disaster of the sort that happened in Lahaina. So that question is, what is being done to properly fund a larger and adequate, potentially adequate emergency management center with the state and the counties? Number two is specific to Manoa. what is the Honolulu Police Department doing about trying to properly evacuate Manoa Valley in the event of a wildfire? I live back there. If there's a wildfire back there and there are 40-mile-per-hour winds, it's going to burn all from the back all the way down. And Manoa has only 2 roads out of Manoa. So what kind of plans do you have to evacuate Manoa Valley when there are literally thousands of cars that are going to be trying to evacuate Manoa Valley once the siren sounds? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me tell you, what you just described is very real. And I can't tell you right now that necessarily we have all of that even figured out. I think we've gone into a different level of preparedness. I still remember 2004, I believe, with the floods and what happened not only to the library at UH, but to the neighborhood. We were covering that on television. Just a quick footnote, because I think our awareness, given the responsibility that we all share to you in our respective roles, and I'll say this as mayor, when I was a young man coaching football at UH down the street, we used to tell our kids, expect the unexpected, because that's sort of the nature of the game. A lot of things happen. You have to always be ready. In this role here, it's almost become expect the unimaginable. You know, as I alluded to earlier, I watch a lot of news and see a lot of things and national disasters going on. But if we even stop and think in our own backyard, the unimaginable events, and maybe I'll even throw out, first and foremost, the missile scare we had. That was an unimaginable event. And of course, COVID, which we're still dealing with and will deal for a long time, was an unimaginable event. And then Red Hill was an unimaginable event. And certainly Lahaina was an unimaginable event. You know, in a world right now where we are and the resources we have available, to have complete preparation for these unimaginable events at the force of nature is not anything I think we're really honestly equipped for. And Hiro alluded to that. At the end of the day, we are all vulnerable as people, and there's a reality to that. So to the extent we can prepare, we will. But the challenges right now of what we're up against, given the enormity and the magnitude and the danger, is not something we can easily answer and say, we've got it handled. So your question is real. Your question is something of great concern. We're trying to do what we can do, but the reality is, it's not just in Manoa. There are a number of places on Oahu where it's one way in and one way out. And there's a reality that we all share in living on an island in the middle of the ocean against the forces of nature, that all the preparation and all the expenditures is still going to hold us in a vulnerable way, no matter what we do. So here, I don't know what you want to add to that, but I would tell you, I think about that all the time. And these other events are actually happening around us, and every time that it happens, you sit there saying, but for the grace of God, it didn't happen to us, but it did happen. Or for that matter, what it was we were experiencing. So here, I don't know anything you want to add to that, but I can honestly tell you, it's not like I think right now we have the wherewithal to prepare for that. What I can say is we are blessed to have great first responders. And our EMS, our fire department, our police officers, committed people who put their lives on the line. What happened in Lahaina was incredibly heroic. You know, if you listen to the people from the National Wildfires, they'll tell you on a wildfire, when the winds get to be 25 miles an hour, they stop fighting it. They stop fighting it and they go to, you know, getting into fire breaks, right? Those men were out there fighting the fire in 70-mile-an-hour winds. And I would almost expect that from our own fire department. The heroism was, I think everybody feels this. But I don't know in today's world if we can actually prepare for everything. Can we get better? Yes. Can we invest more? Yes. But when you pose it like you did, there's a reality to that. And I can tell you, we've had a lot of frustration at trying to get the LOI flood mitigation program going. And we've taken it to the highest level of the military. And right now, tonight, as of where that is, and we're waiting, Mike and I are going to be taking a meeting in the next week, it's doubtful. It's doubtful right now. So we're living with that. That's just the reality. I want you to hear it from me. To the best of our ability to plan, we will. but we will be, if something like that were to happen, in an unprecedented emergency situation. All I can tell you is we'll try to give it everything we have under those circumstances. Here, I don't know if you want to.
No, Mayor, that was a great framing of the problem and the situation that we're facing, and that goes to my earlier point about mitigating as much as possible, because our ability to respond to these events, we're really going to be challenged with that. But that's not to say, again, that we're not trying, that we're not going to continue to strive forward. And specifically to your issue, thank you for that question about our Emergency Operations Center. And this is our current Emergency Operations Center was built in the early 1970s, and it's gone through a series of renovations. But we live in a different world now, just in terms of the size of our community, the complexity of our society, and also the types of capabilities and systems that we have available to us. And really, our needs have grown. Our needs have really outgrown the facility. So we did actually go through a planning process back in 2019, shortly before COVID, and the draft EA was published I believe in February 2020 as COVID was kicking off. Kind of had to put that on ice while we were dealing with COVID, and now we're back to discussions. There's a plot of land next to the Joint Traffic Management Center downtown that is intended for the Emergency Operations Center, and we're just dealing with some land issues. And of course, there's a number of other issues that we need to address in terms of the kind of getting the authorization to use the land, because it was purchased using federal dollars, and then what kind of programming we would have in it, and just have to be really balanced out with the rest of the city's capital budget as we move forward. So thank you for asking that question. That's really something that's priority for me that we'd like to address in the very near future. But regarding your question about evacuation, and Mayor is absolutely right. 60% of the communities in Hawaii are built with one way in, one way out. So not to diminish the concern for Manoa, but in a sense, like, you guys are actually in better shape than some of our other communities out there. But this is something that we've been working with very closely with the fire department and also with the police department regarding the evacuation protocols. And we want to be careful about this and thoughtful about this, because calling for an evacuation, like, while you want to err on the side of caution, the evacuation itself has a tremendous amount of cost to society, not only in terms of time, but certain populations that are kind of in fragile states, to physically move certain people, there's real risk associated with that. So we want to be careful in how we actually issue evacuation orders. So to that extent, we continue to work with the Honolulu Fire Department. We really depend on them to assess the condition on the ground to determine whether or not evacuation is warranted. If the firefighting capability is not going to be able to contain the fire, and we need to pull the trigger, and how that gets coordinated. So I don't know if you guys want to add a little bit to it. Go ahead, Chief.
So what happened in Lahaina was like a perfect storm, and it was a tragic incident. But what we have here on Oahu, we have a much more robust fire department, a much more robust water system, although the water system still has vulnerabilities. But just for an example, the Mililani Mako fire was a slow-burning fire. Lahaina was just, it was just too fast to do anything. So for us, at the Mililani Mako fire, we have an internal management team that can stand up fairly quickly. We can also stand up resources and personnel fairly quickly, so to make a stand at the fire. And working with DM and the police department, at the Mililani Mako fire, we did have benchmarks. If the fire got to a certain point, we would evacuate the top half of Mauka, and we would have to just execute that plan. So, working with DM and the police department, like the mayor said, we're going to try to do everything we can to keep everyone safe. But we got to assess the situation every second of every minute of every hour. We're assessing where the fire is going, the weather conditions, and we're trying to basically guess what the fire is going to do. But if it got to a certain point in Mililani, we had the plan in place to evacuate the top half and the bottom half with their routes planned. And Mauka, like Manoa, has one way in, one way out. So there are limitations in each community, but we're going to do everything we can to keep everyone safe and to keep our personnel safe. So,
You know, if I could just add one thing. One of the things that we have worked on, Elton, and it's kind of an extension of what Hero's already said, is our communications and getting together and the kind of decisions that have to be made. I have a lot of confidence in that. And I want to give a shout out to the military to give you a perspective, to take nothing away from HFD, because they did everything they had to, but they were also able to, as Joe just said, we incorporate other resources. The 2 helicopters that HFD had have a capability, because that whole thing was done through the air, could drop 100 gallons of water in each helicopter. They go to the lift, come up, drop 100 gallons. We had 7 military helicopters going, Chinooks and Blackhawks, each of which could drop 2,000 gallons. We had them going around the clock with those resources, you know? And so part of when it comes to saving lives and under emergency situations is the decisions that get made, how accurate they are, how rapid they're made, and that we are working on. I can promise you that. And I can tell you that we've already had some experiences where I have every confidence in our first responders and the people that we bring together to be on site, to be on target, and make the right decisions.
Yeah, Mayor, if I could just add a little bit more. So in addition to Chief Costilla's comments, you know, what it is really not feasible for us to come up with a pre-scripted evacuation plan for every community, because it really depends on the circumstances and what the fire behavior is at the time. So the other thing is that how we communicate this to the public. We're working on the sort of the progressive messaging that we would have, so that the first message that you hear from us isn't evacuate now, that you have some heads up as the conditions are sort of favorable in a negative sense, that like conditions are favorable for a large fire event, there would be heads up to the community. When there's a fire event that's happening, and there's, you know, you see smoke, right, and you can smell it, there's a message to the community. So as the incident progresses, and hopefully it never comes to this, that like, okay, you guys probably want to start packing your stuff and getting ready to go. And then the next message you might get is, okay, well, those who might take longer to evacuate, start evacuating now. So just really in terms of how we communicate this in a progressive way, and to give as much lead time as possible should that day ever come for you guys to have to evacuate. We're working on that communication plan as well.
All right, thank you, Hero. Let's move on to a different topic. Thank you. Which side are we on? We're over here. Then we're going to come back to this side. Okay?
Hi, Mayor. My name is Tanya Tomhoon. I'm from Kahalu.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi. I want to thank you, first of all, for assigning Jiro Sumada to handle my case. I met you last year at the town hall meeting in Kaneohe. I explained to you that the former chief planner had written a letter on my family's behalf and my community, whose land were downzoned from R10 to Ag 2. Now, the chief planner's letter explains how the city had made their mistake, and yet to this very day, I'm still dealing with DPP and their posturing that I'm asking for a rezoning, which actually adds more injury to my family and my neighbors. So I'm asking you, is it the city's policy to refuse correcting their mistake to an injured party?
Well, I don't know if it would be our policy to refuse, you know, corrected as a policy. I don't know if you want to, if you're familiar with it, because Jiro was handling it, but Don.
I was just told, excuse me, I was just told by Jiro, I called in last week Friday, and I was told by the receptionist Hoku that Jiro had left. I was not informed of this, and this has been my process, doing my civic duty in going through the process of correcting a mistake by the city. Okay. I have had challenges, and I've been postponed time and time again. My family's been waiting 40 years. Formally, I undertook the process of restitution in 2017, and I still am not getting the right answer from the city. And Jiro told me that he drafted a letter directed to the director, Don, and I hope that's addressing the chief planner's letter.
Okay. Well, Don's standing right next to me. So go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you. I still have contact with Jiro, so I'll find out where that was left off, and then we'll address it. Thank you.
Can I get a commitment, Mayor? Because this has
You know,
been
Tanya,
going on.
that's almost an impossibility right now because I don't really have the details. I remember you, and I know
Yes.
what you're talking about. And we can do this when we finish tonight at 8:30.
Okay.
Because obviously it was a 40-year ordeal, and I'm not so sure what it is you expect me to say. I'd like to get the facts as well because I wasn't involved.
The
in
facts
that.
is all in the letter that the
Okay,
chief.
Tanya, I hear you.
A resolution was introduced. Corporate counsel. Let me speak, Mayor, because I've waited 40 years. Chief Planner explained everything. The resolution that was introduced by Ikaika was premised on that letter. Now, when it got to corporate counsel, they rewrote it. They rewrote the resolution to reflect as a rezoning. Now, every step of the way, DPP has postured that I need to do a rezoning. No, I don't need to do a rezoning. It's the DPP that needs to correct their mistake and do it quickly, because they revamped, when they downzoned my land, they revamped the whole Oahu master plan in 90 days. And it was because Kaneohe was supposed to be the second city, not Kapolei, but they made concessions with all the neighborhood board on the windward side to change it over to Kapolei.
Okay.
And concessions were made, and we were the concessions that were made.
All right, Tanya, we'll stay here to meet with you at 8:30.
Thank
okay?
you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Don. Okay.
Linda Wong, Diamond Head Neighborhood Board. I'm not representing them, but we have a lot of resolutions that we've written for you. Thank you for all the department heads for coming. It's quite impressive. The governor wrote whatever, and he said no more rules like from DPP on building because we need to house people. Now, I understand that, and I'm all for that, but we still want, a number of us in the community still want a say on what's going on in our urban core. To have no rules and regulations and building sky rises to 55 feet to house people at every block in Mo'ili'ili is just going to make us have one less way to get out of urban Honolulu. So I would like, and I'm sure there are others, that would like to have a say into when you're building stuff. Like when Kukui Plaza came up and we didn't have any kind of say at all. Because we used to, I went to all the DPP meetings and the Urban Planning Corps and all that stuff. And now there's no more anything. We don't have a say, boop, there's another building, boop, there's another, And the density that we have to live in, I feel like we're little rats running around in little cages and, we get less, and there's more buildings with less parking places. And they're at the back of the UH, the back gate, they've got another one coming up. They have 3 coming up on Kapiolani at every corner in Mo'ili'ili. So with this kind of density, I don't see, I'm looking, where am I going to go?
Okay, Linda, I think I understand your question. Don, you want to address that a little bit?
Sure.
We can talk about that.
I think you're talking about the urban development plan. So there's updates ongoing. I think since 2018, they began the update of that plan. And there's been different opportunities for community input, some hearings, meetings, et cetera. And it continues to go through that process. It will be going to the city council next. So there should be opportunity to speak on it and provide any kind of comment, etc.
So we'd like to speak before it goes to the city planning. DPP used to come out and finally they said the public urban core is this, from Pearl City to Kahala, and then we're going to build over here, and we'd all vote and have put in our things, and you had the community input. But we don't have that anymore.
There were community meetings. I can we have, and on our website, we provide a lot of all the meetings that we have so that the community can attend. I can get your information. I can provide what's upcoming and, you know, give you an idea of what's already happened as far as those community meetings.
You changed from the PUC to the D Department of something, and there was no input on that.
I don't understand. What was?
You changed from the PUC, now you're calling it something else. Yeah, see, you changed the whole thing, and there was no public input on it. Boop, there it is.
Well, then that wouldn't be us with the PUC. Look, I want to move on. I hear you. Because I just realized there's a lot of questions. We want to answer as many questions. We've spent a long time on topic. The reason why I let it go, to be honest with you, on the public safety, because I think that affects all of us. But we really want to get to as many questions as possible. And so I appreciate the question. I can honestly tell you this stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's access. Hang around tonight. We'll talk to you a little bit more about it, Linda. I know who you are and how much.
Well, we're going to have to talk about Kaimana Beach showers.
Yeah, we can have that conversation. I look forward to it. Okay, next question. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Louise King-Lanzalati, and I wrote this down because I was chicken, but I'll just speak.
Go ahead, Louise.
You know, I'm very worried about the use of fast tracking and changing permits without EIS. I live at the bottom of Mānoa, and at the entrance to the freeway, which is one of the worst areas for traffic in the entire state. And now there's going to be a building going up, a 15-story building that is going to be fast-tracked, and there's not enough parking for the residents that live there. But I'm not even just talking about that. I'm talking about if you don't do an EIS, you don't know whether you're disturbing the water. I'm Hawaiian. You know, you're supposed to take care of the aina. You're not supposed to just do things because we can get bigger and bigger. We have really limited resources. We're an island. We can't live like the people in the continent who can just keep growing and growing. So I would really appreciate some information on how can we not just give away all this land without checking and making sure we're doing it safely.
All right. Thank you, Louise.
So thank you. I think the project that you're talking about is the Pahoa project. It's a 201H project, so it does have a limited time or a shorter time to go through the process and through the city council. That project actually goes through the state. So DPP, we provide our comments as best as we can, but it's an HHFDC project that it goes through.
I'm just saying that, you know, when you fast track things for whatever your reason, I don't think there's any reason that's good enough. Look at what's happening to our water everywhere in Hawaii. We're talking about emergencies. Well, we need water, and we need water we can actually drink and, you know, all that stuff. So I don't think it's a good excuse to say it only has a short time to go through. You just have to find ways to not do things that are really a bad idea.
If you don't like the timing of it, that's a state law. And so even the city council has trouble with that. So, you know, I would lobby about changing that. And if the community feels strongly about having more time to review the project, that is in the law. So I would look at that more than how we're stuck to that timeline.
Can I just make a comment? I think a majority of us in here in this room are frustrated because of too much growth, too much uncontrolled growth. Like she said, we are an island. We cannot sustain this.
Right.
The neighborhoods are frustrated. I'm sorry.
Understood. And I think that if you can come and participate in some of the updates to the general plan, the development plan, the sustainable communities plan, that is a way that the community can give input about how this growth is going to happen.
You know, can I just say one thing, though? It's a bit of a conundrum because I hear you about growth, and yet if I were to tell you if there's a primal scream in our community, it's about housing. And so I don't know where you think that's supposed to happen. In this particular project I'm familiar with, and it is a state thing, but at the same time, I can tell you, we are trying to stop out-migration. We are also trying to provide housing, especially for working young people. And I think we're doing that in a very diligent way in the city. And I know Denise is here tonight. I'm really proud of the efforts we've made in housing. But I would tell you that commensurate with this challenge is producing more housing.
I hear you. I really hear you. But I think that, you got to put the housing where it's not going to make it impossible for
Louise,
people
I
to
understand
live
what
where
you're
they
saying.
are.
Yeah.
It's not, for me, it's not about housing. It's about the environment. It's about the island. It's about trying to figure out how can we solve some problems in a way that doesn't destroy part of our resources. There's water under that place. What's going to happen to it, I have no idea.
Okay. Appreciate it. We're on this side here, and then we'll come back. Chris, I see your hand up. We have Brandy, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Eduardo Hernandez.
Eduardo.
I'm with the Hawaii Bicycling League. I have some of our members and board president here this evening. We're a community nonprofit. We were founded nearly 50 years ago, and we've been growing just like the entire island. And it's really great for us to be here tonight, so thank you for this forum to hear these issues that we've heard about. We've talked about the Alawai Bridge and disaster preparedness, climate sustainability, the density on Oahu, not enough parking, public health, being an island in the middle of the ocean, and unimaginable events. And from our perspective as a small nonprofit, we've been saying this for 50 years, that a bicycle is a great answer to all of these issues, and the work that, thank you, and the work that's been happening in Honolulu, particularly under your administration with Complete Streets, Vision Zero, pedestrian plan, these are answers to help us get around more sustainably, more affordably. We have this wonderful weather that we can do it, and when we have safe routes to get to school and work, we're able to do that. So thank you for that work.
Thanks, Eduardo. I'm sure you just brought a smile to Roger Morton's face. Okay, Ryan, who's got the microphone? I just said I would call on Chris right there. And we'll get to, if we can keep the stuff short, we'll try to get to everybody. Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks, Mayor. I want to say something. This is what I want to talk about. Well, the gentleman here with the trash trucks, you mentioned Waikiki. This is a problem for anybody that lives within 2 blocks of Beretania, King Street, anywhere. It's not just Waikiki. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And the gentleman here said, let's get together and talk. I think if you came and recorded it at 4 or 5 in the morning and then went and played it in front of the city council, there'd be no talk. They would change the rule. It's terrible. But I'm here to partly talk about what these people were talked about. Over on Alexander Street, you have a proposal for low income or whatever housing. You're going to jam a 20-story building into a piece of property that isn't even 70 feet wide. You're going to put the building, because there's no restrictions, within 20 feet of $2, $3, $4 million condominiums, destroying their property values. It's going to destroy everybody on site. And I understand what you said in your State of the City, whatever speech about the need for affordable housing. But the reason that rules like setbacks, circulation studies, environmental studies, fire studies, you'll never be able to get firemen back to the back of where this is built. The reason those are there are to protect all of us for our quality of life here in Hawaii. That's primary before we talk about new people. And to just dismiss it and because
I don't think Chris, I don't want to be argumentative, but I don't think we're dismissing and or, per your comments, breaking any rules or just doing whatever the hell we want to do. That's anything but the reality of it.
Well,
anything that
because
gets
the
built.
rules were passed saying we need affordable housing, so we have to give these developers just the word you use is streamline, but it affects, you're going to downvalue the value of the condos all around that by at least 20%, at least. Every expert will say that. And so there has to be a limit on density. There's a lot of land. Not everybody needs to live in Kaka'ako and Moiliili and Makiki. There's a lot of land here. And a lot of people pay a lot of money to live in certain areas, and it costs less to live further elsewhere.
Okay.
But you come in with this, and by the time these meetings are held, everything's decided. The law's there, so the developer's just going by the law. They have a few meetings. The homeowners come out and they say they're upset. Everybody just placates it, and then the thing gets jammed down everybody's throat. I just think the rules that were in place for all of those protections, setbacks, everything, height restrictions, whatever, they're there for a reason. We're losing our quality of life here in Hawaii. If you don't notice it, trash on the corners, graffiti, whatever. But the one thing we do have is some space and sunshine and our property values. So,
well, I can assure you, and I appreciate everything you just said about urban density, and it's truth to a certain point. I want to say it again, we haven't been breaking rules or throwing out the old rules. A lot of what we're looking at in the future of housing, maybe you've heard us talk about it. I see Lori Kaikina here, who's building the rail system, has a lot to do with transit-oriented development, and that's not in this neighborhood. So, you know, a lot of the future we're looking at in places like Evo, I don't know, I don't know what it is you want to say, but I'm just telling you, in order to build in this core around here, I don't know what's been going on, what buildings or whatever. It's really difficult to get done. And so I don't know about the one on Alexander Street, but I can tell you that, especially in this area, the codes and stuff are pretty strict. That's not what we're looking at from the standpoint of future development. I can promise you that.
just to get him to build it. And they say, well, it won't pencil. I did development for years. That's a lie. Yeah. It will pencil. But all those setbacks, circulation studies, this is where you get off at Punahou, come down Bingham, and the first right to get over to Beretania. We can't get out in the morning because of traffic. We can't get out of our driveways. And now you're going to add a couple of hundred more cars? It makes no sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Brandy?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Michelle Matson. I am the president of the Diamond Head State Monument Foundation, also the Planning and Zoning Chair for the Diamond Head Kapahulu St. Louis Heights Neighborhood Board. I'm speaking as an individual tonight. And
Michelle, could you hold the microphone up to you?
thank you. Unfortunately, the city has ignored our resolution to request to transfer our established and historic community districts out of the primary urban center and reclassified our established communities as sustainable communities. Today, I'm presenting to you the adopted resolution calling for this transfer that was adopted by our district neighborhood board.
Okay. Thank you.
Continue.
You're not going to read this whole thing, Michelle. I don't have the time to do that.
Not tonight.
Okay.
Promise.
All right.
I stand together with so many other concerned residents and community organizations with hard questions and heavy issues, portending to significantly impact and threaten our established and historic communities and legacy lands. 1, the city's proposed Alawai Bridge. 2, the city's PUC DP higher density zoning revisions. The Pahoa Ridge height and density zoning violations and traffic, environmental, and flood zone impacts. The Kualei Place 400-foot height and density zoning violations, traffic impacts, and major truly affordable housing displacements. One point being that the city should petition the HHFDC Development Exemptions Agency to respect and abide by the city's presently established zoning regulations. Another point being that the Alawai Bridge must have a full EIS disclosure document on the proposed developments, significant cumulative impacts, and clear alternatives. And I would like to additionally present you with a vivid picture of catastrophic
All
proportions.
right, I get your question. I get your question.
No,
I don't know if it's Denise or Dawn,
excuse
but let me just say, that presupposes we're breaking a bunch of rules. It's kind of the tone. We're not breaking any rules here on anything that we're doing. You can't do that.
This was the other item.
Okay.
May I continue?
No. I'd like to kind of keep it short, okay? I want to move on. Michelle, I know who you are. I appreciate your passion. I know what you represent. That's a whole long discussion. We'll offer you an answer right now. Please stay after. We're happy to work with you.
Please read what I just gave you. It's really short.
Okay, thank you. Michael.
Mayor, I just want to say that Michelle and Linda and Winston, I think Winston is here somewhere, Winston Welch.
Winston's over there.
They all send me the resos that are adopted by the boards. We read them, we understand, and I think you all understand that many of these projects go through a state process first, and then they come to the county, and we can only control our part, but what I would agree with you is that the goal is to strike a balance. I mean, everything works better when it's balanced. And when things get out of balance, that's when the public speak up and tell us that things are getting out of balance and there's too much development, and we respond. That's the political capital of what you do, and it takes time for that to take effect, but we hear what you say. I guarantee you the council members that are here, all of us, we hear exactly what you're saying, and we appreciate that you're giving us feedback because you believe things are out of balance. And that's something that we need to hear from the community. So thank you. That's why we're here to listen.
And Michelle, we'll try to get the grass cut on Diamond Head. We'll try to get the grass cut on Diamond Head per this, because we have a lot of that around this island.
It's not the grass. It is moving the encampments out.
Yeah.
It's moving the encampments out physically because you are going to have another Lahaina here. The flames will be whipped around from the kiawe trees that are cut by the transient encampment inhabitants.
Right.
They cut the kiawe limbs, then they build their campfires. We have had acres of fires already. That report shows that there were 4 fires in February and April. And the problem is the fires in the summer with the grasses, it's not cutting the grass.
It's the encampment. I get it.
The incendiary fires, when the wind starts whipping around Diamond Head, you won't have enough helicopters. It'll be just like Lahaina because it will go through the neighborhoods. It will go through Kapahulu. It will go down to Kapiolani Park, and it will go right into Waikiki. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
No, points well taken. I think you're going to see some dramatic work done by us when it comes to homelessness. And in fact, we just cleared out Diamond Head, but I know that they didn't get completely away. And we know what we have to do. This is an ongoing battle. And but I think we've come up with some stuff in conjunction with the state, attacking the homeless challenge, which is a very complicated deal that is unprecedented. I think will begin to manifest itself, and that's just not talk. And I'm very aware of what goes on the slopes of Diamond Head. And I don't disagree with you on what you said about the potential hazard that represents and what they do that actually can create that problem. So honestly, I promise you, it's that part I hear you very clearly. And we have a responsibility there not to tolerate that.
All they're doing is housekeeping. That's it. For $40,000 a shop.
Okay. Right here, and then we'll come back over here. Yes.
You remember who I am?
You are Joanne, yes. So Joanne, I'm going to ask you also to keep it short. I said at the outset tonight, I don't want to be rude to anybody. We just want to get as much stuff in as we can, okay?
Well, I don't want to be rude either, but for the last 10 years, it's 10 years that I have been arguing about the same thing. I talked to you, Andy Suggs, Lauren Keelan, who's that there? Oh, the Chief of Police, Logan, and Brian Lynch, and also Calvin Say. So I don't like to waste my time either. I could be home watching Law and Order right now, which I really like to do, but I'm trying to get my area to be fixed up. And I've been doing this for like 10 years, like I said, going in circles, getting like, wait on it. But, I'm going to be dead by the time anything gets fixed in my area. Everybody wants a nice area. Manoa is nice. They have a nice park. I don't have a nice park. I can't go walking in the park. I mean, there's homeless encampments there all the time, people doing drugs, and then more affordable housing in my area. What you put in the area is what it becomes, and I can see what my area has become. So I'm just asking for, I don't know how many times I made phone calls and everything else. When is something going to be done so I don't, it's not only focusing on the homeless people, but what about the general public, like us, the law-abiding citizens who are, you know, working every day, paying their taxes. We want to have peaceful neighborhood. We want to have a neighborhood I can go out with, not fearing, not going to Ala Moana feeling I got to buy a gun.
We agree.
So I'm just asking when.
Well, I think it's on now. I think it's actually happening now. When you say when, our efforts against homeless and cleaning up camps and taking people is ongoing, and it has been.
But my problem is I think that we have to enforce the law more. Enforce the law, not let people get away with things.
Joanne?
Not let the prosecutors let people out 40 times before they go to jail, before they kill somebody, or before somebody throws chemicals on Dan Ying Zhang at Planet Fitness. I don't want to be that person either.
We agree.
So I'm trying to say we need to enforce the law. If the police capture somebody, don't let them out 40 times before they shoot Kekoa Flores in the eye. I mean, I watch this on the news and I pray for all these people because they don't deserve it.
Okay.
Neither do we. So please, please, please listen, because I am not a CEO. I am not a lobbyist. I'm just an ordinary citizen looking for a peaceful life, and I think we all deserve that. So please do something and let us get off this merry-go-round, because I'm tired of the ride of going in circles all the time.
Okay.
I just want you guys to do something. You got an office that
We're doing
you
a
have
lot.
been in. I
tell you
know.
right now, we're
At
doing
least
a
you
lot
meet with me.
in a
You
lot
meet
of
with me.
places.
So I'll
But
give you
maybe-
that. You have met with me 3 times.
That's right.
Not Kirk Caldwell, not
And we are
Josh
doing a
Green.
lot. We need to do more, and we will. But we are doing a lot. We're not indifferent. We're not allowing that to happen. And, you know, one of the things I'm pleased with is we were successful against the ACLU, the only city in the West Coast. In addition to that, our enforcement now and what we're doing with our plan to deal with homelessness, yeah, I understand. We're being very aggressive. Mike?
So I understand your frustration, but the way you ask the question implies that we're not doing things. And that's simply, that's simply incorrect. We are given the vacancies that they have in the police department. They are working overtime around the clock. Public safety is our #1 priority. If you give us details, we'll address them. But to ask a question in a way that implies that we're agnostic to crime and things that are happening in the parks is just not accurate. This gentleman was going to ask a question because you brought it up about putting people back on the street. This gentleman has a document from the courts that shows that the state has dismissed all of the claims that were filed against multiple people, homeless that were cited, vagrancy, all kinds of stuff, because they simply can't handle the number of people that are going into the system. So they're just dismissing complaints against them. These people go to the courts, they're back out on the street. That's a reality that we have to deal with. We don't like it. We're not blaming the state, but they don't have enough room to lock everybody up that we arrest for violating the laws. So I'm just telling you, because, wait, please let me finish.
I know it's not your fault. It's previous administrations as well. I've dealt with the Caldwell administration and Kobayashi. I've talked to Calvin. I've talked to everybody. I'd rather be home, painting my fingernails, doing something else than coming to here, okay, to do this. But I want to fight for all the community.
We all want to fight for everybody.
Yes,
you don't own that.
But 10 years is too long to wait for something. It's the same thing when I go out the door. It's the same thing.
Okay, honestly, I don't see the benefit of continuing to talk. I'll just tell you that for you to bring up the acid attack, a man that no one would have suspected while he was walking down the sidewalk was going to throw acid in a woman's face. I don't know how you prevent that, but we're doing everything we can. And to ask a question in a way that implies that this administration and all the hardworking police officers that are here do not care and are not doing enough, we admit the challenge. We admit it's tough. We admit we're not always there when people are doing things that need to be arrested. But I tell you, part of the problem is that when we arrest them and we send them to court, they're put out on the street again. And if you all want to see that document that this gentleman brought tonight, because that's what he was going to speak to, you should read it. That's the reality that we deal with. And the next thing I was going to say, in this community, I suspected that we would have a lot of people that support the ACLU. I really do. And we like the ACLU. I give money to the ACLU. But we fought the ACLU when they said that we did not have the right to enforce against the people that occupy public spaces and keep the public from using them. We fought the ACLU and we won the preliminary injunction. And the reason is not because we don't believe that homeless are criminals. They're not criminals. But when they leave a space, they don't have a right to leave drug paraphernalia, feces, urine, and trash behind, because then the law-abiding people can't use that space. So I'm just telling you, what you talk about is true. I hear you. It's valid. But if you knew the complexity of the things you're complaining about, if you walked in our shoes, I think your perspective would be a little bit different. We're all committed to enforcing the laws, but we have many challenges, including vacancies in every department. So I'm happy to talk to you after.
Okay, Brandon? Yep, right behind you. And then you.
Hi, I'm Walden. Welcome, I'll keep it short. It's just a personal issue, not with you, but anyway.
What's your first name?
Walden.
Walden.
Yeah, so the reason I came tonight is, like most of you, I was born and raised here. I grew up. I used to go to Ala Moana Beach Park ever since I was a little boy. But recently, I got a ticket for walking my dog in there, and now I got to go to court next month for walking my dog. Yeah. And I want to change that law because I don't understand why I can't walk my dog there.
That law's been on the books for a long time, Walden.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't make sense to me because many people use the park to walk their dog. That's a high-density area.
Yeah.
There's not many open spaces where you can walk your dog.
I understand.
And I don't want to walk my dog
Laura.
on the street.
Okay. I hear you. I have a dog. I know what you're saying.
I also have dogs. Well, actually, we're down to one dog now. But, another park director one time said to me that, parks, they're places where everybody comes, and they come for different uses. And everybody really believes that the primary use for the park is their use. And what happens is that we just have a lot of conflicts in every park between sometimes competing uses or people with different tastes. So with the dogs, we also get a lot of complaints from people that don't want dogs in the park. And so we're always trying to find that balance that the managing director was talking about. We've been building additional dog parks because we know that there's areas that people need to have the dogs off the leash. And when you're in crowded urban areas, it's not good to be in a park with a dog off a leash. So we are working with looking at some others in urban Honolulu, and we've been built about 3 different new dog parks around the island, and hopefully we're going to have our 4th and 5th soon. We are looking at other parks where we can open it up for people to walk their dogs so that we can have more dogs on leash in parks. We have a contingent of people in Ala Moana that have been fighting opening up that area for dogs. So we opened up Kaka'ako Waterfront Park, and we wanted to invite people to try and come over there to walk their dogs and give them an alternative. More parking, because Ala Moana is very crowded, and we're just still trying to find that balance. I've been talking with the people in Ala Moana that have been fighting having dogs on leash about opening up a dog park area in Ala Moana where it would be permitted. They've been resistant to that. And so again, we're just trying to find the right balance in the area. But I would encourage you to use Kaka'ako for walking your dog. You can be next to the ocean, and that would be a nice area. And we'll continue the conversations with people at Ala Moana. It is, I think, our most crowded park. And there are a number of people that are afraid of dogs, and they just have asked that we not open up that area. So it's all a matter of finding the balance. we would like to have more areas in the urban core. And I know one of the council members is talking to me about some additional smaller parks that we can open up for dogs on leash, and that it wouldn't be a problem, and we'd like to do that more.
Yeah, I just hope I can walk my dog there one day. Thank you.
Okay, well, then I appreciate that. We've got about 20 minutes left. I do, as I mentioned at the outset, should they arrive, introduce Senator Carol Fukunaga just walked in. Senator, would you say hello? Okay, thank you. Okay, Ryan, it's on that side now, okay?
Hello, my name is Carl Dex, and I ran for mayor 2020, and my campaign manager was threatened through the court system. He was issued citations to threaten him and my campaign, and then the court flushed him out under a homeless person's name. I have tens of thousands of cases that are flushed through our court system under homeless people's names. They're using it for profit. They're using it for threatening people. They're making money off of it. Our courts are horrific, and they're using this as a weapon against the people. I have tens of thousands of cases.
Well, Carl, I appreciate. I don't know what we can do about that.
Probably not much, but that explains why. I mean, a list of citations here. HPD has better things to do than to write citations to homeless people and then have the court flush them out while real crime and people are being stabbed and shot in our streets. The court system has to be fixed, and that'll help a lot of these problems. Our court systems are garbage.
Okay, thank you, Carl. I appreciate that perspective. Here, Brandy.
Hi, thank you. My name is Estrida Pazentiner.
I'm sorry, what's your first name?
Estrida.
Estrina. Hi.
I appreciate you having this forum, and it's my first time, so please be gentle, but wow. I have more than enough time to say, and I want to address, I take care of Kapuna and families in actually even Manoa, and I live in Kapahulu area, and it's pretty much Kahala and Diamond Head, and I want to just state that I have an issue right now with the homelessness, and this does not mean all homeless, obviously. I'm talking about the transient homeless that choose not to seek shelter or any help, and I'm picking up drug paraphernalia outside of my residence and trash, and as you even mentioned, feces. I was lucky enough that he put it in a bag and put it on my dumpster that came at 3 a.m., and I was grateful for that.
Okay, so go ahead, because I want to move it along. We're very aware of all of this.
My safety, and I have a huge heart, and my safety and my clients' safety, these are residents of Hawaii for since the 60s, one of them being someone you know, Tim and Devin Gard, and I am at my wit's end because HPD, they come every time I call, and they're amazing. But how many times am I going to get into a fight with somebody that's threatening me, and their mental illness is more than I should be putting myself into jeopardy for? And the graffiti, everything that has been mentioned, we're not, it's like we're arguing with each other, but really we're not, it's there.
Right.
And I feel that they have more rights than we do. And
I understand that.
There's a place across the street from my building that has been empty. I'm trying to fill it with a nice small business. Not because I'm going to make money off of it, but because I want the neighborhood to be...
Okay, so I hear you. So let me just say a couple of things about what we're doing that's unprecedented. One, when we first came in, we knew that the compassionate disruption of just doing street sweeps and moving people around wasn't dealing with the systemic problem of homelessness. And we came in office 3+ years ago in the middle of COVID. So one of the things we did was we studied the cities where they were dealing with homelessness well. Houston was one, Denver was another, Boston and Eugene, Oregon. And the very first thing we did was we developed a mobile crisis unit because HPD, the 911 calls on an annual basis are just about 1 million. And three-quarters of those calls are related to either some kind of domestic situation or homelessness. And that was very costly because those calls would come in, HPD would get deployed, so would EMS. They would go over there, would be nonviolent. They would either treat them on the street or bring them over to Queens. There's an emergency room. And a couple hours later, after they cleaned them up, gave them a shower, fed them or whatever, back on the street, costing Queens more than $500 million a year, okay? So this mobile crisis unit is set up to mitigate that. We currently have 35 employees. We have doctors, physicians, clinically trained people. We have 5 ambulances and 6 SUVs. Operates out of Pauahi and over at Iwalei. That was the first thing. The second thing we needed to do was to buy facilities where we could take people, because you just can't pick them up off the street if you don't have a place to take them or treat them, okay? And this is where the conjunction or the collaboration with the state is now about to take place, and Sam's right behind me and what we're doing. So we just bought Iwalei Center. It was the largest deal in the history of the city, 4 acres, and we put in the interim, until someday that gets developed, we're going to treat it as a triage center. And we're going to put 100 beds in there, and we're going to be ready to open it on May 15th. So now we have one place to take, as well as other places. We took over the suite at Leahi. We also, in conjunction with the state, just opened the first ever psychiatric clinic at Iwalei Resource Center. We're about to do that again at King Street. We bought the old First Hawaiian Bank. That's going to happen. We took over Leahi. There's other places that we're dealing. We've got places in Wahiawa and other places. We now have places that a year ago we didn't have to take people. So we got the mobile crisis unit that can pick them up in the street, even against their will, if they're not even in a position to say they want help. Because the guys lying on the street, we got about 4,000 homeless on the island of Oahu. 2,000 are unsheltered, 2,000 are sheltered. We have done a really good job with women and children and vets.
I agree, and I spend time donating to the PATH Clinic.
I just want to tell you,
So
with
I
all the
agree.
anxiety in
I
here,
agree.
because we have more anxiety left with the responsibility of fixing this. I want to be sure I get this out, because we've worked really hard to do this. And I want you to hear what I'm saying, okay? So we now have places to take people, more places to come. What we didn't have was the healthcare workers, the people to treat these people. So the governor, who's not here tonight, in his implementation of the tuition loan repayment program, up to $50,000 a year being forgiven in loans, is developing a healthcare workforce. In fact, we just awarded back in December the first class of 492. We're beginning to get these healthcare workers that can take these people, administer them, and we're working with the major nonprofits, Catholic Charities, IHS, Partners in Care. This all has not been done before.
I agree. I'm not arguing.
No, it's true. I'm just telling you, because we feel this. We can't do it fast enough.
Can I ask you a simple question?
Go ahead.
How is it legal for them to panhandle and cover an entire sidewalk?
It shouldn't be.
And I'm sorry, I see women and children in the daylight walking around them onto Campbell Avenue.
That should not happen.
And one guy took his clothes off and he was naked.
I know.
And
Look,
he touched himself. And I don't understand how that is legal.
It's not legal. It's not.
But how is he?
As Michael
how are
said,
they-
we cannot have a police officer there every second somebody does that.
I feel bad calling the cops.
Okay.
I feel, and it's like, and I'm
All right. So I
obviously
think we're going to move on this
Portuguese.
topic. All I'm trying to tell you is we have a game plan. We're going to be executing. I'm very aware of what's going on at Diamond Head. I'm very aware of what the other areas are, certainly Mo'ili, and everything that Joanna's talking about and everything that you're saying. But this is not easily solved. And that's part of the reason why it's in the state. The best thing I can offer this crowd tonight is it's a scalable problem. So let me just give you a little bit further analysis. Of the 2,000 that are unsheltered, about 1,000 of them, about 50%, have been on the streets for 10 years or more. Hence the frustration, okay?
Yeah.
And the very high percentage of them suffer from either mental illness or some form of addiction, and they don't want help.
I know.
They refuse it. It's not easy to deal with. And this is where it gets contested with the ACLU. We are going to be aggressive.
I was just going to say that. I'm sorry to cut you off. There was a Korean Sunday
tick me off.
story.
I'm just telling you. I'm just
I
trying
know.
to
I'm
tell
just
you.
excited. I'm up at 3 a.m. Outside. They're outside my window.
Right.
I took it on myself to become the neighborhood
So my
watch
point is,
person.
Astrina, and I want to move on to a couple more questions.
But ACLU you mentioned, and why did these 2 homeless guys in Kahala buy liquor and cigarettes for the Kalani High School students? And guess who had to shut down their shop after 20 years?
Okay, you've made your point.
I mean, it's just, I feel like they're winning, and I'm not talking
I'm
about
trying
the
to tell
homeless.
you. I'm trying to tell you as nicely as I can.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. I'm trying to tell you we're doing something about it. Okay. All right. Listen.
Aloha Mayor Ian Ross, Chair of the Makiki Lower Punch Bowl Tantalus Neighborhood Board. I want to commend you for the choice of San Moku to help you on this issue of homelessness.
Thank you. Very proud of Sam.
We're working on a tour with him with the Waikiki Neighborhood Board right now. We're really grateful that someone who's accessible. I have a very specific question. As many people in this room might know, the Supreme Court is currently hearing Grants Pass v. Johnson.
Yes.
And this will have a potentially enormous swing, one direction or the other, and what legal framework we can have to address this homelessness issue. I'm wondering if you and your team have worked on plans depending on this, or if you have a vision for what you might do depending on which way they rule.
Well,
Thank
we're
you very
hoping it's
much.
going to go in our favor. The rhetoric I'm reading now from the Supreme Court, and what they're saying is it should not be left to 9 justices to decide this. This is a county issue across the country. The one thing I will say, I'm about to get on a plane tomorrow to go to Washington, D.C. on the homeless issue as part of a team of 50 mayors with the council led by Karen Bass in L.A., where they got 120,000 homeless people, and they can't deal with it. Or Seattle, or Portland, or some of these other places where they've lost the cities. We're not going to let that happen here. And I understand everything that got said tonight, believe me. Okay? I get the frustration. We are as frustrated, too, because we can't get it done fast enough, but we're going to do it anyway. So we're anticipating that the counties are going to have the opportunity to do what they need to do. That's why we've set up everything. One of the other things I didn't mention is the governor with the Kauhalis. We're about to put, 100 Kauhali in over at Evilay. We just did 30-something in Kaneohe. We're creating places to take them. And Jim Island's not here, and I don't know if you want to talk about involuntary holds, but we just did it. They get squeamish about this. I'm telling you, I'm all for picking the guy up on the street who doesn't want to be picked up and taking him someplace and getting him treatment. I'll tell you that as mayor, okay? Now, there are lawyers who would sue me for saying what I just said, because they say you can't do that, because I've been told that. But I'm just telling you where we're coming from. So we feel this. We understand the impact it has on the community. I don't need Joanne to tell me or Estrina to tell me how unsightly it is, how unruly it is, how threatening it is. We don't need to hear that. We know that. And we're trying to fix it. It's a complicated problem. We're being as aggressive. We're being more aggressive as a city than all these other places that lost their cities. And that's out of love of this place. Okay?
The gentleman brought up the case that was heard by the U.S. Supreme Court this week, Grants Pass. The City and County of Honolulu did file an amicus brief, friend of the court brief, basically asserting the city's right to enforce public spaces for the public. So we're waiting to see what comes out of that decision, but we understand the importance of the majority being able to safely occupy public spaces and no single person having an exclusive right to that. We understand that.
Appreciate the question. Thank you. Sir?
Yeah, aloha. My name is Winston Welch, and I've been called out by a couple of you. I am Executive Director of the Outdoor Circle. I see some of my members here tonight, and just by chance. And also, I'm Chair of Neighborhood Board 5, which is Diamond Head, Kapahulu, St. Louis Heights. And I'll just speak as a human who lives here as a resident, or as from the Neighborhood Board perspective. And I want to say thank you all for coming out here. You guys have really hard jobs. I work with a lot of you, and we really appreciate you being out here. A lot of the times we're asking, and I think that we have a wonderful system here of our neighborhood boards. As you are able to, I would recommend maybe a policy that you start is that each one of your department heads rotates coming in and out of the neighborhood boards, just telling us what does the Department of Customer Services do, what does DPP do, something like that, so we get more familiar with the process. The other thing I would ask is that I think a lot of the issues are that we feel a loss of control in our neighborhoods. We feel like things are a fait accompli, or that, and a lot of people don't understand the 201H process. It's hard to understand. Maybe we could require these developers to send a postcard out. Maybe DPP could send something out for the PUCDP to every affected business or neighborhood. That would go a long way to engendering community understanding about these issues. But I do want to say just thank you so much. Last our meeting, Dita came out to our board, really meaningful. Krishna exemplary employee. I was complaining about something. He said, yeah, we're failing here. And he owned that. That was really significant and meaningful for me. And a lot of your staff are like that. And I could go down the line and say that. So I just want to say thank you for being out here. You are us. We are you. We're one island. We got to work together. We do appreciate you here. We all have our own problems that we want to ask you about and concerns. But, you know, we're all here together. And thank you for
Winston.
what you
I
do.
really appreciate that. And I want to thank you, since you're complimenting us. I'm very aware of you. Thank you for your leadership. You know, that's exemplary, too, for a private citizen to be so involved in this process. And the truth of the matter is, government can't do it alone. It's not just about having a shortage of police officers or anything else. Even the men and women here and the people we have, we have the communities and leaders within the communities to help us. Who's next? Brandy.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
My name is Ikaiko Olds. So just for those who don't know who I am, I'm a social worker that works with the homeless here in Honolulu for nearly a decade. I just want to preface this with, we brought up that acid attack at Ala Moana. That was my son's teacher. It was very personal for me. Also because I also know Sebastian, because I do street outreach from Kohala to Kapalama Canal, and I've worked with him over on Sumner Street. We're dealing with a very complex individual with mental health issues. But moving forward, Mayor, I want to bust your chops. I want to actually give you guys a compliment. First of all, I want to say thank you for acquiring Tokai University. Mr. Moku, I know we talked back in January about it. I just got my first homeless family referred there today via Catholic Charities. So thank you very much for increasing the capacity for emergency shelters here in Honolulu.
There was another building we bought. He's talking about Waikiki Vista. It's right on Kapiolani. And we're putting people in there. Go ahead. Families. It's pretty much set up for homeless families.
So just to ask places for you, Mayor, two questions. Is it possible for us to make CORE a permanent part of the city? And the second question is, when you guys do your sweeps, is it possible to include providers like us in those sweeps so that we can help provide services? I was at the Cartwright sweep last week when they swept underneath that overpass. It was just HPD and the contractors who throw away the stuff. If it's possible for us to be able to come on and be a part of that process, whether it's CORE or the agencies that service this area, we'd love to be a part of it.
All right, this will be our last question tonight. We're out of time, but we're going to stay here because we're going to go off the air in Olelo at 8:30. CORE, it will be a permanent part of the city because it's going to be part of the solution. All right? I mean, we don't have any chance. In fact, we put it in the budget, which we're going through right now, to expand to 50 and expand that because we want to be able to go island-wide. I don't know about the liability, Chief, on having citizens, if police are doing a sweep. I don't know if that would be allowed. But something we can definitely take a look at. And I appreciate that initiative. And hopefully, we'll get to you, sir. Hopefully, if anything has happened in the last 15 minutes on that subject, you understand we've got a good game plan, but we're as frustrated as you. And we're as determined as any group of people you could ask to be determined about making a difference in this area, unprecedented difference. And we're doing all the right things to do that. Not the least of which is, and I'll give a shout out to the governor, the collaboration with the state. Keep in mind, the state has a Department of Health. We don't. The resources they have as a result of that are tremendous. That's missing in city government. The combination, the collaboration of us working together holds great promise. And that's the one thing I can promise you. We're going to maximize that situation. Look, I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight. We're going to stay. Like I said, we're not going to run out. Appreciate your passion. I appreciate your concerns for your communities. And we just want to thank you and just thank you very much. Okay? Take care.